Imagine waking up to the headlines that read, "The United States has officially withdrawn from NATO." For over 75 years, NATO has been the backbone of Western security, with the United States serving as its most powerful member. But what happens if America decides to walk away?
Già messo nero su bianco.
Would Europe be able to defend itself? Would Russia become more aggressive? Would China see an opportunity? Or would the world simply adapt to a new balance of power? Let's break it down. NATO isn't just another international organization. It is the world's most powerful military alliance, made up of 32 member nations. The United States contributes far more than just money. It provides nuclear deterrence, intelligence, missile defense, logistics, satellites, strategic airlift, and tens of thousands of troops stationed across Europe. In simple terms, NATO without America is like a football team suddenly losing its star player, captain, and coach all at once. Although European countries collectively have a large military, much of their planning has relied on American leadership since the end of World War II. So, without the US, Europe would have to fill an enormous military gap almost overnight. The first and biggest challenge would be security. Countries closest to Russia, such as Poland and the Baltic states, would likely feel far more vulnerable. Many European governments would immediately cease defense spending, expand their armed forces, and invest heavily in weapons production. Countries like France, Germany, and the United Kingdom would likely take the lead in building a stronger European defense system. However, building military capability isn't something that happens in months. It takes years or even decades. During that transition period, Europe could become more exposed to military pressure, cyber attacks, and political coercion.
Will say the US will withdraw 5,000 troops from Germany.
Ironically, an American withdrawal might end up pushing Europe to become far more militarily independent than ever before. For Russia, an American exit from NATO could be seen as a strategic victory. Moscow has long argued that NATO expansion threatens its security. A weakened alliance could reduce military pressure on Russia's western borders. However, that doesn't automatically mean Russia would launch new invasions. European countries would still possess significant military power, and nuclear weapons in Britain and France would remain powerful deterrents. Meanwhile, China would closely watch the situation. Beijing could interpret a US withdrawal as a sign that Washington is becoming less committed to defending its allies. That perception could influence calculations in the Indo-Pacific, particularly regarding Taiwan and regional security. Other American allies, including Japan, South Korea, and Australia, might also begin questioning how reliable US security guarantees really are. This could encourage many countries to strengthen their own militaries or even consider their long-term strategic partnerships. Supporters of leaving NATO argue that America spends too much defending Europe. They believe European countries are wealthy enough to protect themselves and that US taxpayers should not carry such a large share of the burden.
Schools, education, healthcare, things that make us stronger.
Leaving NATO, they argue, would allow Washington to focus more resources on domestic priorities and on competing with China in the Pacific. Critics see things very differently. They argue that NATO is not a charity, it's a force multiplier. By maintaining strong alliances, the United States projects power around the world, shares military costs with partners, and prevents conflicts before they become larger and more expensive. From this perspective, leaving NATO could actually reduce American influence while creating more global instability. If the United States were to leave NATO, the alliance would not disappear overnight. Europe would still possess advanced militaries, major economies, and two nuclear powers. Transition would be one of the biggest geopolitical shifts since the end of Cold War. Russia would test the alliance resolve, China would study America's changing role, Europe would likely accelerate its military independence, and the global balance of power could enter an entirely new era. One thing is certain, the question is no longer whether NATO matters. The real question is whether the world is prepared for a future where America is no longer at the center of it. If you enjoyed this geopolitical analysis, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more insights into the power moves that shape our world.